It's time to make a leap from a life you hate to a life you love. Reclaim your passion and rediscover what it means to live a lifelong dream with God. Let the adventures begin. It's your dream year.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Access. If this is your first time here, it is an honor to have you here with us this morning as we continue our series called Dream Year. Now, if this is your first time here, there's some things about our church that you probably don't know that you need to know. One of the things is that in this room, there's hundreds of people gathered together today, but our church is bigger than this. You see, there's lots of people every week across the world who join us online and watch online, which is amazing. And beyond that, in the city of Brandon, like 30 minutes from here, there's another amazing group of people who are gathered today that are joining us by video. Can we say hello to all of those who are joining us today by video, everybody? Hello. Love you guys so much. It's an honor to join you today. Today is a special day. Today, we're continuing our series called Dream Year. And let me catch you up on where we were last week to set you up on where we're going this week. Last week we said this, that we believe that God has uniquely woven into the tapestry of who you are the capacity to dream. You see, if the same God who created the world, who hung the sun and moon and stars, created you in his image, that means that you were created with the capacity to dream. And many people lose their dream in life. Life seems to beat it out of them at one time or another. So we just asked this question: what would it look like if we redreamed? What would it look like if we took the dream that we've placed on the figurative bookshelf of our life, we breathed life back into it, and we dreamed together? So last week, if you missed it, you can go online to www.access.tv and watch it there. But I'm going to just kind of give you this one thought. Last week we said this: you will never be able to pursue your dreams until you first name your dreams. You can't pursue your dreams until you know what it is. Now, this morning, I've invited a guest speaker to come. And here's something you need to know. At Access, I take this stage, this platform, incredibly seriously. In fact, in the whole history of our church, we've probably had less than 5 guest speakers because I value this space so much. To me, this is just a high school and this is just a platform, but on Sundays when we gather in Jesus' name, it becomes a sacred and holy space. About a year ago, I met a friend through a mutual friend, and I made a phone call thinking someone could help me with a couple things that I was working on. And what I discovered when I made this phone call was that I met this guy who became like instantly one of my best friends. You ever have that before? Like, we had one phone call, then we said, let's just meet up at Cheesecake Factory for dessert. Like, we'll get cheesecake and we'll sit together for 30 minutes. And 3.5 hours later, my wife was texting me like, are you dead somewhere? You know, like instant best friends. And beyond that, he stepped into my life at a pivotal season. He's helped me through some major difficult decisions. He's walked with me through some exciting moments and some devastating moments. And he's just helped me. And he is one of the best dreamers I've ever met before. Like, this guy just exudes passion for life. He's just a guy who seeks adventure. His name is John Eric Mosler. He's worked with Pixar and Disney and NASA and Google, and the list goes on and on and on. But I could tell you more about him, but instead of taking his time this morning, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. And would you welcome my good friend to the stage this morning, John Eric Mosler, everybody. Come on.
What's up, buddy? Aww. I'm going to show you some of my family. My son Logan got to be here today, but I think they have a picture of my family up here on the screen. There they are. So there's Luke and Leia is what I was going to name them, but my wife shot that down. That's Logan and Peyton. And then perfect size family, boy, girl, you get the complete set. You're done, right? Everything's right. And then we went camping. And so that's baby Emerson. So we have braces and high school, and we have 2 life groups, basically, is what you need to know. Yeah, we go to 2 different life groups, and our family is on a great adventure. You know, people love movies because they're more than just a story. I think that movies, the idea is that it speaks to your heart. In the book of Ecclesiastes, it said that God placed eternity in man's heart. What that means is that you will respond to the character of God. You will respond to his story. I run into people that say, I don't believe in God, They still were created by God. They will respond to his design. There's a lot of people that will attend a service across the country today, and their hearts won't be moved. But tonight they'll watch Extreme Home Makeover, and they will cry. I don't know about you. I cry like a little girl every time I cry. You know why? Because sometimes churches talk about the character of God, and then some people show the character of God. There is a big difference to talk about it, to sing songs about it, to have conversations about it, and there's a whole other matter to show it, to be it, to live it. Those producers are not Christians per se. They don't go out and say, we want to affect people's lives. But what is the show about? It's about redemption. It's about hope. It's about forgiveness. So you respond to stories because that's how you were designed. And if you think about your favorite story, and I'm not talking about entertainment. There's a big difference between entertainment and advertising and then telling a good story. You respond to it because it's the story of the gospel. When it said that it put eternity in man's heart, that means it doesn't matter what they believe. They will respond to it. They will love that story because most stories will start the same way. Once upon a time, the Garden of Eden. That once upon a time, like everything was great. Your favorite story starts that way. Everything was fine, and then something happened. In script writing, we call that the inciting incident. A lot of times that's a betrayal happens. The fall of man, turning to the dark side. Right? Think about your story. It happens that there was a betrayal. Something happened in that story. Everything was fine. There was peace, everything was great, and then the inciting incident. We have a rule in our house. I think some families have a cuss jar. We have it different. We have a good news, bad news. You are not allowed to use the word good news or bad news in my house. Because when you use the word good news or bad news, you essentially are declaring yourself God. And that's a very dangerous thing. So we just have news. Some news for some people started bad, but it becomes their message. And it becomes then their mission, their dream, their calling. I have friends who had really good news and got that big promotion and went to that city and never really got plugged into that church like they did back home, and now their families aren't together. See, it's not good news or bad news, it's just news. Things will happen in your life. You will have an inciting incident. It is guaranteed. There are two types of people in this world: those that are going through something and those that will go through something. And so that inciting incident requires a rescue. And so then during that part of your favorite story, a rescue happens. An adventure takes place. For us, that's where, in this betrayal, God sent his son on a rescue mission for us. That he loved that world so much that he could not stand to be separated from us for eternity. So he sent Jesus on a rescue mission. And then your favorite story ends with, and they lived happily ever after. And one day, we all get to live happily ever after. See, every story that we respond to, everyone that we love, it follows that same pattern. And it's in the book of Ecclesiastes. It says that when you tell that story, people will really respond to that. So that when you call people to tell a story, tell that story of your life. See, I think what we do sometimes is we like to tell sometimes the Disney versions of the fairy tales. because they started to become entertainment and not, you look at the original fairy tales, that there's some dark moments in there. And so for us to be transparent and say, hey, it doesn't matter what initials of reverend or pastor are before my name or doctor, or I'm a human being that is on this story of God, and I get to live my life and write one sentence. The problem is, the life that people hate is because they're plagiarizing somebody else's story. And they're not living the story that God created you for and designed you for. Every single individual in this room was designed for a grand adventure. That there is something in this world that only you bring to the table. Sadly, most of the people I meet never experience that. There was this guy, and he died and went to heaven. He was a big history buff, and so he loved to study generals and different battles. And so when he got to heaven, he asked God, who is the greatest general that you've ever created? And God said, oh, that's easy. It's that guy right over there. He said, well, God, that can't be right. I know that guy. He was a janitor. And God said, but if he only would have been a general. See, there is something that God created you for that's incredible. You have to make that leap. You have to seize it. You have to go after that. Because there's something that only you bring to that table. That it's part of that great rescue. A lot of people, they get into these funny arguments about like what their favorite Pixar movie is, or they ask me, what is the best Pixar movie? And there is an answer to it, by the way. There is. And I get to hang out at, I get to walk around campus and meet some great people there, and we got to take Logan. We were out looking at a college and said, what do you want to do? We have a free day. We can do anything you want. So he said, I'd like to have lunch at Google. Okay, what else would you like? So we had lunch at Google. I'm like, so what else do you want to do? Whatever you want to do, Dad. No. What would you dream to do? And he goes, it'd be really funny. I'm like, yes. Mom's on the other coast. Let's check in at Foursquare and then send a tweet from Twitter and then upload our status at Facebook. So we spent the afternoon just going to all these different places, checking in and doing that. And we had this great adventure together. But in these conversations over lunch, people will say, what is the best Pixar movie? So think of it to yourself. What is the best one? What is your favorite one? And so when I do this, everybody around the table, a lot of times you get some people have some of the same answers, and I'll tell you the best one is the one that spoke to your heart the most. See, for me it was Cars, because I was at a time where things got really successful, and I had offices in different time zones, and there was a lot of zeros on checks, and it was crazy. But I felt like I was losing why I started my company to begin with, because I wasn't being creative anymore. I was meeting with accountants and lawyers all day. I realized, man, I hadn't animated anything or done anything creative in 6 months. I was Peter Pan, and I became Captain Hook in the process of my own dream. And that's something that happens. And so Cars, for me, spoke to me because I wanted to get back to a different time, to when I was in love with that dream and we could change the world. And so it spoke to me. Others of you, it could be Up. Some of you, it might be Monsters, Inc. But what I'll tell you is the reason you love it is because it spoke to your story. All of them were great movies. All of them are great stories. but the greatest one is the one that speaks to your individual story. There's another story that I love. It's one of my favorite ones because it involves a big rescue, and that's in the book of Nehemiah. And so if we go to Nehemiah, Pastor Jason was talking through that with us, and what's interesting about the book of Nehemiah is, let me give you a little bit of the background behind it. And imagine a time where things were really successful. And because it was really successful, a lot of people, they had a really great economy. And because there was a great economy, everybody got to start to buy things. And because they think in their minds, the economy will always be great, there will never be winter. They didn't read the book of Proverbs. There will be winter. It's inevitable. Like, basically, one of the keys to wealth is when everybody's greedy, get scared, and when everybody's scared, get greedy. Like, that's how that works. Like, winter will come. So the people who have cash when winter comes, they get to expand. It's a pretty simple economics that they make it really complicated in other places. Well, they didn't think that winter was coming. So they started to take mortgages out on their land and their houses. And it turns out they started to take mortgages on their houses that are unreasonable and nobody could ever afford. And why would you ever give that kind of loan to these people? I'm not talking about a couple years ago, by the way. I'm talking about Nehemiah. No, like, that's what was happening. So we think it's about the walls. It's not about the walls. It was about a community of people who stopped taking care of that the church was super important to a community and started to be really successful. And then when winter hit, they couldn't pay those loans. And then guess what starts to happen? Well, we can't upkeep infrastructure. We're going to have invaders come in. And then we have this inciting incident with Nehemiah. And so he sees that, and he begins to launch a rescue. Now, there's one of my favorite verses in this, and I'm just going to say it briefly before we move on to chapter 3. And there will be times where there are people who do not believe in your dream. And that's going to happen. Sadly, some of them are going to be the closest people to you. That is not an excuse not to keep dreaming, to keep going. You see, you win when you don't give up. I think we don't understand is that what the Bible says is that we walk in victory, not we walk to victory. So when you wake up every morning realizing I'm walking in victory, not one day I can win, but I win. I've already won. I just have to keep going. See, when you will win if you don't quit. I've seen way too many people stop short just right before the big payoff. They never made it to the promised land, and they died in the wilderness. There's a lot of people in your life that are still building for Pharaoh. You know, either you're going to work on your dream or somebody's going to hire you to work on their dream. That's just one option. So you're in one of those categories. You're either working on your dream or you're working on somebody else's dream. God designed you to work on your dream. You build bricks for Pharaoh, or you wander in the wilderness, or you're in the promised land. This is where God wants you. Most people are here or here. You have to step over the graves of the people who gave up and keep going and going and going. This verse is in Nehemiah 2:20, and this is where Nehemiah, they're making fun of his dream, they're not believing in him, and he says, I answered them by saying, the God of heaven will give us success. We, his servants, will start rebuilding. But as for you, you have no share in Jerusalem or claim or historic right in it. Do you know that what happened for me was I realized at some point that those people that didn't believe in my dream, I didn't get mad at them anymore. When I read the book of Nehemiah, I had extreme pity on them because they will have no claim or historic right. That when we're able to do something fantastic, those people that just said, they kind of, I don't know if I want, I got other things going on. I don't know if I want to be involved in this program or whatever. Or, the sad thing is I think sometimes we say, they just, why don't they get on board? Why don't they plug in a church? Why don't they do all? I feel horrible for them, because when we get to have those big celebrations, they get no claim or historic right in it. I don't know about you, but that's something that I don't want to miss out on in life, is that when there is the celebration, I want to be able to be said, hey, I was in chapter 3. I was one of the families in chapter 3. I asked Pastor Jason, so what did you cover last week? And he said chapter 2, and then what are you going to do next week? Chapter 4. So I looked at chapter 3. Have you looked over chapter 3? It's a bunch of names. It's just a bunch of names. What? Can't I have like this really cool verse in it? Nope, bunch of names. Turns out it's my favorite part, because it's a list of the families that got to be part of the historic rite. That thousands and thousands and thousands of years later, you know what that is? That's legacy. Do you want to have a legacy for your family? Some of you are like, I'm a single dude. Best time to start the legacy for your family is when you are a single male. Some of you say, well, I'm not a dude. I don't think they would say it like that, but I don't know how y'all talk. And if I tried, it would be, just be digging a bigger hole. There's really great friends of our family, and she's in her early 20s, and she's starting to think about, going to get engaged soon. I'm going to do it. I recently just had the talk with her. I said, hey, start thinking about the legacy you want now. Because who you date, who you marry, the money, what is important to you, because there's a lot of dreams that got destroyed because we wanted the big house. We wanted the 2.5 vacations a year. We wanted, and it killed the dream. So as we go into chapter 3, in chapter 3 is this list of names. And they're building this wall. And there's one thing that I want to point out to it, because this is really important for your family. I find that most couples, most families, they're struggling with this question. When I talk to a lot of guys, they ask me this question: how do you balance everything? Like you help one of the things that I do is we basically help people launch their dreams. We invest in companies. We have a venture capital company that helps people launch their dreams, and then I work with a lot of other companies, and recently am helping a great friend of mine, and he's doing some incredible things with his company in changing the world, and we'll take his company in the next 18 months to over $1 billion a year in revenue. He started as a high school basketball coach and math teacher that just wanted to get $500 a month so his wife could stay home. That was his dream. Because the average person that declares bankruptcy, if they just had another $300-400 a month, they wouldn't have had to do it. So he wanted $500 a month. His company will be over $1 billion in revenue in the next 18 months. Starts with a dream. And a lot of people said he couldn't do it, but he didn't listen to those people in chapter 2. So they ask, how do you balance it? How do you do all of this? And there's the 3 questions that I think, that the 3 areas that most of you are probably trying to balance is you say, I have my career, and then I have my family, and then I have church. And there's a lot of books and messages about it. I have these 3 things, and how do I keep them all in the air? And I find that the average American family that I run into, mom is tired and dad is bored. and they're trying to balance all of this. Do you know balance is a lie? Do you think in chapter 3 they were balancing anything? Stop trying to balance your life and start trying to align your life to your dream. Align it to that adventure. It's not about balance, it's about integrating. So our family, you know what? I don't try to balance those things. I have one thing, and that is our family is creating a legacy of helping people with their dreams, and that is what God called our family to do. So when I am traveling, my kids don't hate my job because they're excited because that's what we do as a family. I get to take them along those adventures. I invite my family into this adventure where, what am I doing with church? Well, what I'm doing with church is I'm working with them and, hey kids, yeah, we want to go to church and do this because this is their dream and this is what their pastor's dream is. And I'm bringing my family along, and I've made those decisions to make that my career, to help people with those dreams. So you might be far away from that. You might be in Egypt and the promised land feels 1,000,000 miles away. You have to start walking. You have to start making small steps. I've been doing this professionally, creatively for now, this is I think year 22. It did not look like what it looked like before. I can tell you story after story of there is consistently times when I want to give up. I keep walking. So those things might feel 1,000,000 miles away. You have to start taking steps. You have to start aligning. If you want that life that you want, that God designed for you, you have to start making steps towards that. As they're going through all of this, adventure is the cure for apathy. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is I don't care. If you give me a group of students who are mad at the world, that often is just misdirected passion. You give me a group of students who just don't care, I can't really do anything with that. So what we do in our family, and I would recommend that all of you do this, and again, when I say family, you're a 19-year-old college student, start doing this now. We make dream boards in our house to the point of we actually have a dream wall that when you walk into our house, all our dreams are on there. My wife's an artist, so she draws stuff around it and puts quotes, and everybody in the family has these dream boards, and they're on Velcro, and it's chalkboard paint, and so you write about your dreams, you talk about that. You have to face your dream when you wake up and when you go to bed. Either you're serious about it or you're not serious about it, because you either have to say, tomorrow it's not that important, or you have to face it. So we face it all the time. We think that somebody has this overnight success or they have this big win, and we're like, they're so lucky. That it's called hard work and providence. It starts with little things. Recently, I was texting back and forth with my son Logan, and I was thinking, it was 2 Saturdays ago, and as we were texting back and forth, I was thinking, what is the average teenager doing today? And what they're doing is they're probably leveling up on Call of Duty, or there's just a lot, and nothing wrong with not hating on video games. Love them, too much so sometimes. But what are they doing? And so I texted Logan, and I said, what did you do today? And he sent me this picture. And this is him at the base of Mount Fuji playing in the snow. Now, what he was telling me is not, I'm playing at the base of Mount Fuji. He was like, I got to see snow today. He lives in Florida. Like, that's Mount Fuji, bro, in Japan. Like, he's more excited that there's snow on the ground. Right. He was there by himself because he bought himself a plane ticket and flew over to Tokyo and wanted to explore the city for 2 weeks. He's 16. I'd say, your kid is special. I think so, but what I'll tell you is he was a 12-year-old kid who we did a dream board, and he said, I want to go to Japan. And so on Sunday nights, what we do is Sunday night is kind of dream board night. And so we don't get to do this every Sunday night, but we talk about our dreams. And my kids and my family are my first clients. Dads, your family, mom, your family is your first client. They're the ones that's part of your legacy. And so when he said, I want to go to Japan, you say to him, well, what do you have to do to go to Japan? You're going to have to learn Japanese. Okay, how do I do that? Okay, good talk, son. We'll talk later. So, hey, Logan, how's your dream going? A couple weeks later. I found out that Rosetta Stone, you can learn Japanese by this program. You don't have to go to a school or a class. Okay, that's awesome. How much is it? I don't know. Okay, good talk. A couple weeks later, a couple months go by. Hey, Dad, did you know that Rosetta Stone, they have it at Barnes & Noble and they have a sale right now? It's like $99. Great. How much money do you have? I don't have any money. Okay. I don't care how many millions of dollars. I'm not going to rob his dream by writing out a check. Figure it out. Hey, Dad, I think I'm going to start a pressure washing business. Okay. I'll be your first client. Here you go. I'll tell my friends, hey, if you need some pressure washing. So he got that and he learned Japanese. And in the process, he was a little upset because where he goes to school and with the state of Florida, they did not recognize Japanese as a foreign language. So he's thinking, I got that knocked out, which is something about the education system. Like, you took it upon yourself to learn Japanese, but that's not education. Let's talk about your real education. So he had to, so he looked at the choices and he was like, I guess I'll go for Chinese. So I'm like, bro, go for Spanish. I'll help you out. Let's just, come on. It's romantic language. Some of the stuff is no. It's the same thing. You don't have to learn a whole new deal. He goes for Chinese. A little bit of a bad attitude about it. Japan and China have some history together, so he felt like he was, being a traitor on his people. I'm like, you're a white boy in America. They're not, yeah. So he has to learn Chinese. And in that process, I said, just have a good attitude about it. Well, my wife was on Facebook, and one of her friends had written something, and it was in some language. She didn't know, so she asked him. Something she would have never done. She would have never asked him, which one is this? But because now he has to learn multiple language, can you, linguistics expert, come over and show us what, and he goes, oh, that's Japanese. And this is what she's saying. Could I write her and ask her questions about Japan? And we had gone to high school with her. A couple weeks later, because now, I remember telling this 12-year-old, you can go to Japan if you learn Japanese and get the money. Okay, he knows Japanese, but then he started to figure out how much it would cost, $10,000 plus maybe to go, which might as well be $1 million for a 15-year-old. So in that process, we got a message back. Turns out that my high school friend works for the consulate and invited him to come live at the embassy compound and be a guest of their family for free. You just have to pay for your airline ticket, which I said, figure it out. You got to raise money. Go fix people's computers. Go do whatever. See, Deuteronomy 6 is the best parenting handbook. It says, diligently teach your children. That word is shanan. In Hebrew, it means to sharpen. What we do is every time that we do something for our children that they can do for themselves, what we're really saying is that we don't believe in you. Now, they might not take it quite like that, but that's what's really happening. We say we love you, and we love you so much that we're going to carry that milk in from the car. You know how many gallons of milk my 5-year-old has destroyed on that driveway? It's $2 and whatever. I don't know, I always get the wrong milk anyway. It's like 20 years. I'm like, is it the purple cap or the green cap? I can never figure it out. He drops the milk and he spills it. And you know what? He doesn't drop it as much. And he hasn't dropped it in a long time now. Because I have to start with little things. There's some moms that kind of freaked out with us because they're like, yeah, so who's he staying with? Oh, they're staying with friends. But during the day, he like buys his own bullet train ticket and goes wherever he wants in Tokyo? Yeah. What? Like they want to call like the Department of Health on us that we've let a 16-year-old just do whatever he wants in Tokyo. When he was 11 though, and we were at Fort Wilderness, and he said, can I go, we need syrup for pancakes. I let him ride his bike just right up to the general store. And he doesn't know this till now, obviously, but man, I was hiding behind trees watching. Like I was running ahead and I was like, okay, is he there? I'm like putting on a hat and sunglasses in the store. He doesn't know I'm around, but you know what? He can speak a foreign language and go through a city because I didn't rob him 5 years ago when he said, can I go get the syrup at the store and ride my bike at the general store? Dreams start out really small. Really, really small. I'll keep going for sake of time. Favorite verse in chapter 3. It says this in verse 12. There are all these words that are very hard to pronounce. So I'm just going to hack my way through this. So just Shalom, I guess, son of Halo, great game, ruler of the half district of Jerusalem, repaired the next section with the help of his daughters. So while they were listing all this, here is this guy, and he doesn't have the sons to go work on the wall. This is my favorite family in all of chapter 3. Because his girls weren't just princesses, his girls were warrior princesses. When you read, they had a bow, people would have a bow and arrow and a spear in one hand, and they'd be building a wall. See, boys, they chase pretty, but men pursue beauty. I don't want my daughter just to be the helpless princess. I want her to be the princess that can fight in a battle. Because she's the hero of her story. She doesn't need just a hero. See, 250,000 times by the time my daughter turns 18, she will hear that something's wrong with her body. Do you know what fixes that? Every time I go on a daddy date, every time I go on an adventure with her, every time I do those things, that changes that. That's super, super important. And so I just don't want her to be that helpless princess. Another thing that you can do with your family, besides a dream board, I would highly recommend that, is we printed out a family crest. And we said, everybody get markers, we're going to do a family crest. And you can do whatever you want. So we all started making different things and drawing different things. My wife's an artist, so we all were like, oh, really? You're just gonna... It's perfect, thanks. But we're all drawing our family crest and we're doing all that. And then everybody, why did you do this? And so it was interesting because why did you put that word in there? Or why did you draw that picture? What does that mean? And so I looked at my daughter's, and she loves the color orange, so hers was a lot of orange, and there was a dragon in it. And she was like 12 at the time, and I'm like, why is there a dragon on that? And she said, well, because that's what our family does. We fight dragons for people. And I was like, I'm going to get that dragon tattoo. Like, I'm going to get somebody to, because I'm like, yes, we're going to have a dragon in our family crest. And we're all going to get tattoos. Like, probably at 12, that would not be a good idea. You have to take your family on a great adventure. You have to emphasize, why are we doing what we're doing? Nehemiah, he fought dragons for people. It wasn't his job. We have a thing in our house where it might not be your responsibility, but it's your opportunity. It's always your opportunity. I don't care, it wasn't your seat that you pushed that chair in. That wasn't that piece. I know you didn't put that piece of trash. That's not what it's about. It's about you having an opportunity to make a big difference. And so seize that opportunity as that family. We put all these limitations in our mind. I love this as we transition next week to chapter 4. In verse 6, it says this: "So we rebuilt the wall till all of it reached half its height, for the people worked with all their heart." One of the things I love about your pastor is his vision for a community. See, while everybody on the news is talking about this issue or that issue, it's not really the issue. What you'll find in life is that it rarely is about that issue. People want to talk about the walls. There was something bigger at play. Without community, they didn't gather, they didn't read the Word of God together, and that's when that city fell apart. So in each of our communities, the greatest thing that we can do is help people with their dreams, is to, number one, connect them to the bigger story of God. And then I think the problem is we say, okay, well, I got saved, now I just got to phone it in till heaven. I just got to put up with earth. Nope, doesn't say that. John 10:10, I didn't come here to just give you life. I didn't come to just rescue you, but I came to give you a life more abundant. I rescued you so you would have an ability to dream, so that you could live this amazing life. We need to be about a community where we connect people to God's story, and then we help each other dream. I get to go to a lot of churches, sometimes 2-3 times a week in the past. And there is something special about Access Church for me. And that is, I get to talk a lot of pastors, a lot of leaders, and there is something truly special about the way your pastor thinks. If you've read a lot of like C.S. Lewis or Tolkien, or if your pastor was born at that time and lived in that city, he would be hanging out with those guys, and they would be talking about those things. He's a thought leader. Taste is something that is needed in the church today. There's a lot of cheesy versions of things. And so when I can have my daughter look up to people like Liz who have great fashion and love God, to be role models, that's huge. But I'll tell you that as a pastor, there are times where it can get lonely because they don't get to experience what that verse says, that the people had a mind to work. They had to work in their hearts. One of the things I'd love for you to do is this week reach out to my friend, Pastor Jason, and just say, hey, I have a mind to work. There's apprentices that want to work with me, and they want to talk about their dream. And the first thing I said is, go help somebody with their dream. And after you help somebody with your dream, then I'll talk to you about your dream. There's a lot of people in here that have some incredible dreams. And we can be a part of changing the world. Like, it is amazing, just the dreams in this room. Forget just Lakeland. I mean, it impacts the ripples of this room, echo into eternity. Your dream is not about you. You were given that dream because your dream is actually a rescue. And that's plan A. It's God's plan A. And here's the scary thing, there's no plan B. the reason you have that dream in your heart is because it will be the answer to somebody else's prayer. I want you to bow your heads for just a second.